Hi, everyone. This is Juan Estrada with the latest District 5 United meeting. Thank you for joining. I do want to say happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all of you who served. So on tonight's agenda, we have Andres Quintero, Alum Rock Union School District Board of Trustees trustee, and he will be providing information about the planned Spanish dual immersion high school.
All right. Hey, Juan, thank you very much for this opportunity to communicate with folks out here in East San Jose. Always a pleasure. Andres Quintero, I'm on the board of Alum Rock School District as your elected representative here for the people of East San Jose since 2012. And so it's been a privilege to be there. And the reason I mention that is because it is part of the conversation about moving towards the establishment of well, at the moment, it's exploring the concept of a high school here in a K through 8 district. And so some of you just heard that and said, well, what's up with that? It's a K through 8 district. Well, we have opportunities to go ahead and think outside the box. A few years ago, the conversation was had. We had a lot of success with our dual immersion schools, and parents were asking for an option. And we have become a funnel from our high-performing dual immersion schools into some publicly funded, privately operated schools that operate here in our city. And so the question was, why don't we provide that service to our families instead of having them move on somewhere else? Because in such large numbers, they were just moving towards these other schools. And about 2013, yeah, I think it was 2013, we got together, had a conversation. The administration, the stakeholders that were brought together at the time really didn't feel that at that time they were ready to go ahead and move forward with establishing a high school in Alum Rock School District. And so it was kind of put off, and we didn't continue. Fast forward to now, last month, when the conversation was, I went ahead and introduced an item on the agenda to go ahead and begin to explore this concept of a dual immersion school. Why is that? We have not one, but two very, very good, great Spanish dual immersion schools. We've just went ahead and moved forward with the Vietnamese dual language immersion school, of which I was able to go ahead and introduce that. And I'm very, very proud of the work that Alum Rock's done, the staff, and the hard work that everybody put in to make sure that this came to fruition. And so now that we have multiple dual immersion schools, it became more of a need now that the parents are going through. They're seeing their children finish off this model of education, and they're looking for their children to continue. In the entire Bay Area, we have one school, and it's all the way out in Half Moon Bay, that has a high school that has a dual immersion model. And so the idea is to go ahead and move forward with the establishment of to right now explore the possibility of moving forward and establishing a dual immersion high school. And so that's what took place at the last meeting. It was basically direction to the administration to go forth and begin the process of exploring the feasibility. We know that there is a demand, there is a desire from many of the parents that are already at our dual immersion schools. We know that we will have a natural conduit once our second Spanish dual immersion school and then our Vietnamese dual immersion school goes into full operation and K through 8. We will have plenty of students that are going to be ready to move into the high school phase of their dual immersion education. So at this point, it's an exploratory phase. Reason that I felt compelled to come and talk to the community was because there are questions. People are asking what's going on, what's happening with this high school. And so I just wanted to make sure to clarify to everyone that at this point, it is an exploratory phase, one that I hope is very, very successful. and that it provides a good quality and dignified education to our children here in Alum Rock, even if it's all the way up to K through 12. And so looking forward to seeing what the staff brings back, and then working with staff to see how we can move this ahead. And so at this point, I'd be willing to take on questions, or Juan, you go ahead, let me know what's next.
All right, I think we have a comment that this is an awesome idea. What I can tell you is I'm just going to note from personal experience, my son did attend the dual immersion Spanish school in the Alum Rock Union School District, and my daughter is currently a first grader. She was eligible to, Dilza Gonzalez, raise her hand. Dilza, I'll get to you right now. My daughter was able to start this year in first grade. She has some catching up to do. What I wanted to reassure anyone who's watching now or watching this video is that these dual immersion schools are just as rigorous as regular school. What it just means is that the students who attend these schools will have a rigorous education, and on top of that, become proficient in Spanish and be able to do their work, be able to write and read and speak in Spanish as well. So now go ahead and let's see. So
Really quickly, adding to what you just mentioned, dual immersion is the way of the future. We want our children to be able to succeed in a globalized society. And we happen to be very unique in the United States, where we're so insulated and we're the only ones that tend to only speak English in the vast majority of the country. The rest of the world has people speaking in multiple languages as just kind of like a normal course of, of life.
All right, good point. Dilza, you can share your audio and video whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dilsa Gonzalez, and I am a parent of also 2 students in the Alum School District. I truly believe in bilingual education, but as an involved parent, I have been in the last, 9 years, 8 years, and my first daughter entered Alum School District. And as a former student also, I understand that this is a investigatory phase, like Mr. Quintero just said, Trustee Quintero just said. I do wonder if you guys have also explored the possibilities of, instead of expanding into a high school and start competing with our Eastside Union High School, which is also losing a tremendous amount of students each year, of maybe reopening other dual language academies. I am also aware that we had to shut down Arboco last year, unfortunately, because we didn't have enough students. So I know expanding is a really great thing, but can we think before expanding to ensure that the other schools that we have are not getting shut down, right? And that our students doesn't have to walk distances or look for schools that are not close to their houses. Because let's remind ourselves that we have low-income parents in our school district that don't have a car, and when schools start shutting down, they have to start looking for other options. So my question is that, like, right, like if we are in the investigatory phase, can we think of making sure our schools are not closing or shutting down because we're not receiving enough students? If we see that dual languages academies are the future, why don't we invest in the schools that we already have? And that meaning elementary and middle schools. And have we even talked to our Eastside Union High School to see if there's something that they can do to integrate, add, or work with the Alum school districts on adding dual language high schools in the future? I think that it's in the best interest of everybody to continue what is successful, but not only in one community or for certain people, but when we talk about equality and equity, we can actually talk on how can we serve every single one in the Alum school district and not just a few. And that will be my statement as a parent and as a former student of the Alum school district.
Juan, want me to go respond to that, or are you
Yeah,
thinking
I
about
mean, I think it would be great if you.
Yeah, no, I point well taken, or do appreciate that. And that's also part of the reason why we kind of held back back in 2012 when the initial conversations were taking place. 2012, 2013, sorry about that. I don't remember the exact dates. But we held back. We kind of just waited and said, hey, there's going to be a path, something's going to happen. And the students just continued to move on. It was basically a direct pipeline to charter schools that many of our children were going to. And so if it were up to me, Dilsa, I would gladly turn every single school in Alum Rock into a dual immersion school. That would be that would be a dream, because I know that we'd be preparing every child for a globalized society. The issue there is that this is a model that people need to seek out. It's a unique model that some people do refuse to embrace, even when they've been asked to participate in it. They said, that's not for me. I speak English only. The responses have been very, very interesting from folks. So whatever it may be, the issue is that we'd have a difficult time expanding it district-wide, due to the fact that it has to be something that folks have to be interested in and buy into as a whole. But I gladly move forward to continue to expand. I was the one who was pushing for a second adelante when I found that so many people were on waiting lists and were being denied opportunities to go ahead and be able to engage and have their children enter the one school that we had. So we have a second one, went ahead and pushed for a third one. And at some point in time, I'm looking forward to that we open up a fourth, fifth, whatever it is that the community needs. It was a concern back then when we initially kind of started and stopped. Eastside Union, it's an amazing school district. I went there and a very proud alumni of Eastside Union High School District. But at this point in time, we've seen that there was a direct pipeline that wasn't going to Eastside Union High School District. They were going to charter schools, because our students from our dual immersion schools were not seeing for whatever reason, they were not moving towards Eastside Union High School District. So we will not be targeting any students that are going to Eastside Union. We are going for the students that were moving over to charter schools. And that's the hope and the intention, is that we, rather than than having them move on to a privately operated, publicly funded school, that they go ahead and they stay in a model that they know and that they've been trained in. And so that's the intention. Eastside Union wanted to do this. They have the resources, they have the staff, they have God knows they have the in terms of the money for facilities, because they have $1 billion in bond money. And so they would have been able to do this a while ago. At this point, I think it's important for Alum Rock to go ahead and move forward without delay, so that we don't lose any more children.
All right, next, I believe Elma Arredondo. Did you want to share your audio and video?
Sure. Hello. Good evening, Elma Redondo. I have one daughter. She's an adult now, but she went to San Jose Unified School District. I really wanted to put her in a dual immersion school. And when I finally became aware of one, she was already in second grade, or beginning of second grade, and they wouldn't accept her, because she was already too far behind, I guess. And so the idea of dual immersion is critical, for our community. The learning of two languages and being proficient in the two languages is critical for our community. It's difficult for Chicanos to pick up the language, when they're just going to the regular public school. And I think it's great to do a dual immersion and then continue it on through high school. It's not only the global aspect, it's our community. It's for our community in terms of being able to have individuals that are proficient in both languages in whatever career that they choose to go into. So this is really, really important. And it should happen sooner than later. You know, we should have this in our community. Dr. Ernesto Galarza believed when he talked about bilingual education, it was dual immersion. That's what he meant when he talked about bilingual education. It wasn't just to learn English, you know, it was to be proficient in both languages. So I think this is really, really great. It's long overdue, and the sooner the better that it can happen. Gracias.
Hey, great to see you, Alma.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yes.
I fully agree with all of Alma's comments.
Yeah, and if I could, I'll just share, since you spoke about your granddaughter, and I'm sorry to hear that she wasn't able to join. Yeah, my daughter, and Elma, if you could go on mute because I think you have a lot of static. There you go. So my daughter unfortunately had to miss kindergarten, and wasn't able to be tested until just before first grade. And so she studied all summer, every day, to try to catch up in Spanish. She's a bright little girl. And fortunately, she was tested, and it was wonderful because when she was tested, the vice principal asked her, she said, "Why do you want to go to Adelante?" And my daughter said, "I want to learn Spanish." And so it was really great. So it's what she wanted. We supported what she wanted, and she is there now. And she knew she was going in slightly behind and had to catch up. And she's got a whole year to do it. So next up we have.
Can I make one more comment real
Sure.
quick? And that's that other ethnic groups like the Vietnamese, and they have these Saturday schools, right? They take their kids to Saturday school where they learn the language and the culture, and they're willing to spend money and they spend their weekend in these classes. I have never seen any of that for our Chicano community. You know, I was even willing to pay for her to learn and pick up and all of that. Nada. So yeah, that's just my additional thing in terms of how badly this is needed. Thank you.
All right. Next we have Brenda. Brenda, go ahead and share your audio and video when you're ready.
Hi, sorry. I just have a question. It was a little bit choppy, so I kind of got a little bit and missed a lot of it. With this high school that the district is planning to do, how will this school be funded? I know that currently we're at a deficit right now of $26 million. And I know that we're always struggling to give our teachers raises or pay them. How will we be able to afford a high school? And I know that a high school staff costs a lot more than an elementary, middle school staff. And do we have a school? I know that these are questions that you probably can't answer right now, but do we have a building? Do we have to build a building? Or what is the plan, or what are the choices that we have if this does happen? And I think my only concern is, I know we're not taking students away from East Side because we're going to be retaining the Alum Rocks district students, but at the same time, we kind of are when we keep the students, right? So will there be a discussion with East Side, Alum Rock, and kind of see what our options are when it comes to that? I think that I support, you know, bilingual schools. I think that our community really, really needs these schools. But at the same time, you know, we are closing schools in the lowest income communities like Arbuckle, and they lost their home school. And I know that that is now a dual emerging school. But for those students that cannot go into those schools anymore because of their age, they are forced to go to other schools. So how will we avoid these kind of problems happening if we do continue to open other schools? For example, will this be only open for Adelante exclusively, or will it be open for any student that never went to a dual emergency school? Because I know that once that option opens, a lot of parents are going to want to put their students there, right? Their kids there, because that would be an awesome way to learn another language. You know, I'm new to this, so that's why I'm asking these questions, but I am really interested in seeing how this will work out. And again, I'm very supportive of bilingual schools. I think we need them, but we also have a lot of things in our schools that we need to also focus on reading levels, math levels that our students aren't scoring really high in right now. And with COVID-19, we have a lot of gaps with our students' parents and our special ed students that concern me. I want to also have that focus on that as well. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those questions. You know, the funding for our system of education in California has based on ADA. And so those students who would be here would go ahead and bring in with them the commensurate amount of ADA that comes in as a result of them being enrolled in an Alum Rock school. And so that's how you would go ahead and fund their education. It's basically based on the funding that they bring in with them. With regard to enrollment at the school, obviously this is very, very early on. I'm going off based on previous conversations that we had a long time ago and some research that was done, as well as some very, very basic preliminary research that staff has done in terms of, they haven't given us a formal report, so it's nothing that I can, you know, say this is 100% sure. But the idea around a dual immersion school is that you go ahead and you take in students who have gone through the process. So you basically wouldn't be able to just drop in a student from who hasn't been in a dual immersion program and say, here you go. You would be setting them up for failure. And so the students would more than likely come from the three feeder schools. Ultimately, they would come from the three feeder schools once they're fully grown out. So we're at some point in time going to get close to K through 8 at Adelante 2. We're already at K through 8 in Adelante 1. And then we just opened up the Vietnamese dual language immersion school. So that's going to take a while. But eventually the idea is to have them feed into the dual immersion high school. Once again, I just want to reiterate, this is not an effort to take away students from Eastside Union. These students are already, I want to be straight out saying, they're heading out to Summit. Many of them are heading out to KIPP and to other schools. And the idea here is to go ahead and keep them in our public schools, our traditional public schools, whether that's Alum Rock and if Eastside Union, you know, that's great. But if we have a model that works for them, the parents are asking for, and we can provide it, I'm all for it. And we can go ahead and continue to focus on working on what it is that we have to work on and continue to evolve and move in a different direction. And if that requires a dual immersion high school because it hasn't been done, then I'm all for it. I'm all for moving in that direction.
All right.
Lastly,
Is anybody on board?
Sorry, lastly, when you,
Oh, go ahead, Brenda.
sorry, lastly, I just wanted to ask, do we have any data on dual emerging? I know we've had a dual emerging school Adelante for a while. Do we have any data to see where most of those students have gone, if it is to charter or to public schools, that we can look at and kind of see what are the advantages and disadvantages?
Yeah, well, their documentation, and they're going to move on to another school. We have to send off their information, and we can tell what schools they're going to. And that's why I'm saying there is a funnel from Alum Rock directly to several charter schools in the east side and beyond now, because some of them have moved to the south side. And so parents are not wanting to send their kids there. They're doing so because that's, for some reason, they feel that that's a better option for them, and we want to avoid that. So that's why with all certainty, I can say we're not removing students from Eastside Union. We're seeking to keep students that were going already to charter schools, and that's my motivation. Well, partly my motivation is to make sure to provide a model that parents are asking for, and where kids can thrive, continue to thrive.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Next, Eddie, feel free to share your audio and video. I'll give it a few seconds. I'll go ahead and pose Eddie's question. Eddie Correa asks, have you considered partnering with a high school versus starting from scratch? River Glen has taken this approach.
At present, those are all investigations. There's several different models that we can use. One of them is, going ahead and saying Eastside Union, we want to merge with you and create an entirely K through 12 unified school. No, it wouldn't be unified because you'd have to be attached to a city in order to be unified, but a K through 12 school district. And so go that route, and we'd be able to move ahead under the umbrella of Eastside Union. We could, and then we can go ahead and establish our own dependent charter, which is something that we already have in place. We have a K through 8 dependent charter at Aptitude. And so that model would allows us to go ahead and move into the upper grades by basically adding them to our current schools, or one of our current schools. And so that seems to be the fastest model without having to get bogged down in bureaucracy and all this other stuff. And so time is moving, clock is ticking. The parents have been asking for this for a while, and I think it behooves us to move in a manner that's obviously well thought out, that makes sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, that we have the resources that we require to make sure that kids are successful, but that doesn't take forever to get it done and to be able to move forward. So I introduced the idea along with my colleague, Quintero. And so I've been working on this since, I mentioned previously, I was there when we were talking initial conversations in 2013. And I think it's an idea whose time has come. And if we continue to wait and see who's out there, there's some folks out there who are concerned about, how is this going to look if they go ahead and open up a high school? God bless them. They can continue to worry about that stuff. And at this point, I'm concerned about our children, parents who are asking for this, and to move in an expeditious and in responsible but expeditious manner.
And then for clarification, there are no legal obstacles to an elementary school district opening a high school?
That's what I mentioned, that there are various paths
Okay.
to pursue this. One would be to set up a whole new district with, it would be an Eastside Union merging or something like that. And that obviously is not a route that we want to undertake. It's it would be to set up a couple of classes for as they grow would be kind of a overkill. So at this point, it seems like the best route, at least, and obviously the staff still has to come back, but this is all preliminary information, is to go ahead and set up a dependent charter, as was outlined in the agenda that when we went ahead and put it forward that day, when the board voted to direct staff to begin investigating and seeing what we have out there, what our options are.
Since we have you, could I ask, I thought it was wonderful that the dual immersion Vietnamese school could be opened. I think it's great to offer opportunities to other communities. And so would you be able to give us a summary of how that is going?
So at present, obviously, all these schools start up small. You want to have quality control. And so it is based out of Painter. And so those schools tend to grow and require more and more space because they're in high demand. And so as of right now, it's still able to be contained in one site within another school. So it is in the very early stages. I think we were in our first class. And so looking forward to seeing much success in that school as they fully flourish. So that's as much as I can tell you right now.
All right, I'm just glad that there is that opportunity for students. So Andres, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing information. It was great to hear many questions, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for making it out tonight. Have a good one.